Thank you everyone for being here. The microphone is the way I'm used to. Practically inserted in one of my cavities. How's this? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Anybody who can't hear me, please raise your hand. So anyway, thank you for being here. I now call the meeting to order. The public hearing on Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. And first item on the agenda. So, thank you. Okay, so item first is
That's all we got. This is the agenda.
my bad. Okay. Well,
Very nice. So they, well, because the only place for people. It's not like you ever go down. Yeah.
So everyone read the guide and do
States of America. And to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay. Thank you. Please be seated. May read the notice of meeting.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing and meeting of the Strafford County Legislative Delegation scheduled to be held Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. The hearing and meeting will be held in the Jury Assembly Room, second floor of the William A. Grimes Justice and Administrative Building, 259 County Farm Road, Dover, New Hampshire, to conduct the following business. Open public hearing for comments and questions on a proposed 2024-2026 capital improvement plan. Issuance of $6,579,750 in bonds to fund proposed 2024-2026 capital improvement plan. Questions and comments from the public. Closed public hearing, open delegation meeting, approved minutes of September 4th, 2024 public hearing and meeting. Motion to approve issuance of $6,579,750 in bonds to fund proposed 2024-2026 capital improvement plan. Motion to increase anticipated revenue by $715,000 from FY 2024 COPS technology grant. Motion for supplemental appropriation of $715,000 for proposed of purchasing radio equipment funded by the FY 2024 COPS technology grant. Any other business which may legally come before the delegation.
Thank you. The stated agenda item, the amount read just now, $6,579,750. Okay. Thank you very much. So at this time, we will call the roll.
Bankover,
Present.
Bailey,
Aye.
Begg,
Present.
Bickford,
Here.
Bigby,
Here.
Burnham,
Here.
Shannon is excused. Conlon,
Here.
Connor, Fitzpatrick,
Present.
Granger,
Aye.
Grassy,
Here.
Harrington,
Here.
Corrigan,
Here.
Corrigan,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Ellen,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Krasinski,
Here.
Kenny is excused. Lamontagne, here. I am here. Newton,
Here.
Pear,
Here.
Finney,
Here.
Petrie,
Here.
Potenza,
Present.
Rich, Schmidt,
Here.
Zeller. Jeff Smith,
Here.
Marjorie Smith is excused. Southworth,
Here.
Sullivan, Turcott,
Here.
Vincent, Wall,
Have 20 present and we have a quorum. Representative Petrie, if you want to state your request to the assembled body.
Just how many Democrats are here?
We have to have a count. It's
Roll call. You do very well.
15. Okay, the count is 15 Democrats, and
Thank you. That's all I need.
that's all you need. Okay, that's all you need. Okay. Now we're gonna have the presentation, item 6, presentation of proposed 2024-2026 capital improvement plan. Of course, this plan has been mailed to all members of the delegation, so you've all had an opportunity to study, read it, and familiarize yourself with it. But the public there are a number of members of the public here, and there have been some new developments, so I'm going to ask Commissioner McGlaris to speak to the situation as we presently face.
Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we use some light?
Yeah, the mic up here, please. Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. The county commissioners, as a result of the last delegation meeting we had about 6 weeks ago, there were a number of concerns raised by members of the delegation in terms of paring down the 6-year capital improvement program that we had presented. They thought it needed a little more work. They wanted some priority to what the commissioners were requesting over that 6-year period. So we went back to the drawing board and developed a 2-year plan that the delegation was forwarded to the delegation many weeks ago. And with that, we asked, the total amount was a little over $6.2 million. Most of those projects were life safety projects that we needed to complete here at the complex, along with a number of ongoing projects that we have that we're trying to complete. One being the air handling system in this building. And as a result of that air handling system, the roof replacement, sewer line replacement, and a number of life safety issues that we have to address here on the complex. The good news is that we've been working in the last 6 or 8 weeks with a number of individuals, which includes Senator Gray, Executive Councilor Kenny, Representative Cadenza, with her efforts to try to gain as much revenue as we could from the state through other sources to be able to pare down this cost. And that process is ongoing. Now, we just heard last Friday that we're going to be receiving $1.4 million hopefully from Gopher, which is the ARPA fund, to help us complete the roof repair here at the building. So our initial request to the delegation, and we mailed you a letter out to the delegation immediately. The public doesn't know this. That's why I'm telling you now. The initial request was a little over $6.5 million. That number has been pared down now by $1.4 million that we've received, that we're promised to receive. Joint fiscal met with Governor Sununu led the charge for us to try to get this $1.4 million. The only thing that has to happen now is on the 30th of this month, the Governor and Council has to vote to secure that funding for us. But we've been assured by most of the players involved in the governor's office alone, Representative Cadenza, that that's going to occur. So we've got a $1.4 million reduction in this $6.579 million request you're now in front of you. So that number needs to be amended downward. There are also a number of other things on this list that we're trying to get grant money for. In the resolution and part of the motion is to allow the county commissioners to, scour the earth, so to speak, for any other grant opportunities that may be out there to help us pay for some of these items that we have on this list. But in any event, the request was down by that $1.4 million, which is good news. As you all know, we did have to return back some $15 million to ARPA. That took place last January, and we immediately put a request in for some of these other projects that we had that we thought was COVID related and that we could get reimbursed for. So a hearty thank you out to Representative Tenza, Senator Gray, Executive Councilor Kenny for their help with working with us in a bipartisan effort to try to reduce the cost of the people in Strafford County. So that's why we're here tonight. We've been talking to our bond counsel regarding how we would move forward financially as it relates to if we were to get an approval of the $5.179 million tonight. They're recommending that we probably do what's known as a BAN, which is a bond anticipation note. There are a lot of things going on in the market. We're going to be going through an election. We're concerned about interest rates. We all are. So what we would probably do is to do a ban, get some of these things started with that ban, and then eventually draw a bond down when the interest rates more favorable. So that's the plan, at least for the time being, and it shouldn't change. But we're just waiting to see what happens as a result. Whenever we go through an election, things happen in the market. It's just the nature of the beast has happened throughout history. So that's what our plan is. And if there are any changes to that plan, of course, we would advise the county delegation regarding that plan, but right now, there are no changes anticipated. Hopefully, we could probably go to a sale sometime in January, or February, depending on, again, the advice from bond council. As to what they see happening with municipal market, because that's the market we're in. So we basically do what the delegation asked us to do, and Ray Bauer's here with the members of the administration to answer any specific questions you have on any particular project. We sent a letter out to the delegation over 2 weeks ago, asking you if you had any questions at all about any of these things. This is like our third go around. All these projects have been before all the subcommittees in the past. Most of the members who attended those meetings are very familiar with the items. It was just a matter of prioritizing them, which is what the county delegation asked us to do. And so that's what we did. So thank you again, Representative Penza, for your help on that 1.4 million. It was a great effort. And I can't thank Senator Gray and and the Executive Council Kenny, because they've been on constant contact with Mr. Barr and myself over the past several months, trying to get some money for us. So.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Harris. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. And I think that we see a considerable number of members of the public here, and for anyone who wishes to address the delegation, this is the opportunity. Please introduce yourself so that they'll know who you are and make a mistake.
Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Krause. I live in Rochester, New Hampshire. I've been a police officer in Strafford County for more than 23 years, and I am currently the town administrator for the town of Milford. The couple of questions that I have is, you have a 10-year bond here, but you have one of the specific items I have a question on is you have the tasers on here, which are a 5-year item. Why, number one, in this packet that you gave all of the delegates, you gave them information from 2019 and 2022. You're not even telling us what you're purchasing for $98,000, number one. Number two, you're not telling us what program you're going with Taser, what device you're getting, and what device you're going to be using. There's a ton of different programs with Taser. You can go with the OSP program, the OSP Plus, the OSP Advanced program. You're going to get bundle programs with them. You're going to save a lot of money. That item should not be in a 10-year bond. That item should be in their budget over a 5-year contract with Taser. You'll get a better bang for your buck, and it'll be a smaller number when it's built into that contract. When it's built into that contract, you can also put better items out of that. You'll get better storage, and you can get unlimited data storage. So I guess the biggest question I have, number one, to be able to answer my first question is, what are you even getting for $98,000? Can someone answer that question first?
Yeah, it was a
Joe, Sheriff, please.
Oh, sure.
Please be recorded.
The expiration of the contract for TASER, that's their only intermediate weapon, was continuing. So we have to deploy the TASER. It's a very important tool, but there's very few companies that actually provide TASERs. And we've been under contract with them now for quite a while. And we're coming to the end of the contract, and this is a new contract to sign up for the same type of services. Every specific that Administrator Krause wants to know about, we can certainly research whatever questions you have and answer them. I don't have any tonight, and certainly get that later.
So you don't know if you're getting the X26Ps again, if you're getting the Taser 7s, are you going with the Taser 10s?
Yeah, the X26
Correct.
By contracting with them, that also includes the maintenance that I think is wrong. Units. You're all like, it's 3 months, as you know.
You should use the microphone so that
Yeah, they're all like mini computers, so part of the contract would be maintenance and repair. They break down just like computers do. So we want to make sure that we have money covered for that, and it's part of the policy so that they can repair or replace it if necessary.
So I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying I don't want the deputies to have tasers. I 100% want them to have tasers. I'm a taser instructor, and I would be completely happy to come down and help them if they don't have a taser 7 instructor, and I'll soon be a taser 10 instructor. So if they need that, I'll gladly come down and assist them with that. The problem I have is you've got something listed here for $98,000, and you're gonna bond it 10 years, and we don't even know if you're getting the taser 7s. Are you buying the X2s, which are no longer being sold after 2024 and not going to be serviced in 2028? Are you buying the XP26s again, which are going out of service in 2028 as well? Are you getting the Taser 7? There are some issues with purchasing the Taser 7 because they're only a 2 cartridge device. Or are you getting the Taser 10, which is the newest device, which is a 10 unit device, which gives the officer the ability to have 10 opportunities to taser that person. The device is a super smart device that actually controls, even if you have to hit the person with 10 of the darts, the device controls it and only 2 of the darts engage. So if we're spending $98,000, we really should know what we're getting, and we should be making sure we're getting the officers and the deputies the best device that we can get them. And in my opinion, it should not be in this bond. It should be in their budget.
Yeah, a couple things. Just to add a couple of things, this also ties in with the Strafford County Jail. We're not the only ones that carry the tasers. We're actually a small unit in comparison to the jail. Mr. Kraus was talking about multi unit tasers that you can reload within the taser, so that if you have a situation in the jail, they might have to deploy the taser several times. God forbid if we have to deploy it at all, but if we do, it's usually to one person within the courtroom, or maybe out in the field on civil process. It's very rare that we have a deployment. We've only had a few deployments over the past several years, as long as I've been here, and since we adopted the taser. We can't really go with something like the OC spray because of the HVAC system. We basically shut down the courthouse for a day or days. And we're in the hospital all the time, and they're very cognizant of that as well. So this is our only intermediate weapon. Now, as far as different models, it's just like buying a refrigerator now. They have so many different models, it's hard to compare anything. That's why we went into contract, so that they will provide us with the latest and best item that we have for deployment. So if the 26 is being discontinued, which it is, we're under contract, so they would supply us with the next iteration so that we have the proper tools to continue. But we do tie directly into the jail contract as well. So we have just so many deputies that have them, but they have a lot more because they deploy them 24/7.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak to the delegation? Mr. Rice.
Right, Rochester, New Hampshire. Good evening. Is that better? Yes. Like a bloodhound, I love to follow the news of the county. What I did not expect was another inappropriate comment brought to my attention by someone else, by Mr. Schmidt, about my right to attend public meetings. I honestly had no idea my attendance was so controversial, Mr. Schmidt. But I will educate you again. Mr. Schmidt, yes, I am a resident of this county, and it is my right to attend public meetings and hearings and to speak. Now I will change my tone. The topic of capital improvements can be controversial with many differing opinions and objectives. What is disconcerting to me is only having a spreadsheet. It's a good start, but to me that is not enough. There is no introduction or purpose. But most importantly, the mechanism of funding is not even written down on that spreadsheet. It should be detailed in the report, and in my opinion, clearly spelled out the terms and conditions to the best of one's abilities and not simply pacified by verbal rhetoric. A well thought out plan would be a plan written out with the various chapters and justifications. At the last county commissioners meeting that I attended to when I was unable to go today, Mr. Bauer announced conversations had recently been had with Gopher. It appears, and we learned this through Commissioner McLaris, that we received 1.4, or we're about to receive $1.4 million, which is wonderful news. But are there additional monies that could be available for one or more of these projects? Secondly, a certain state rep has commented to me that perhaps up to $5 million might be available. So I guess the question does beg, why are we rushing to approve this modified plan when all the pieces of this puzzle are really not totally in place? Further, it has been stated numerous times that bonding will not occur until the beginning of the year, when rates are generally at their lowest, or historically have been at their lowest. We have time to work on this plan and to develop this plan. And another little tidbit. This spring and summer, employees
To do their job, there's no regard what's happening. So,
this eventually went out to bid, and it is estimated that the county will save about $60,000 or $65,000. My question is, can this money be reallocated to fund the kitchen equipment instead of placing it in the CIP? The money has already been raised by our taxes, and I've had a couple of conversations. I don't know on the county level how this is exactly done, whether it needs to be a line item change at the executive level, or how that is done. But there's some money there. Interestingly, a gentleman from Milton spoke at the last public hearing, and his question was regard to the impact on that community. I, for one, am interested in knowing the answer to his question about the impact of this on our communities. Not every community has the same infrastructure, and I believe in fair representation and consideration for all of our cities and towns in our county. Even a rough estimate would probably satisfy the scent of the bloodhounds. I will also add that the dumpster fire we are faced with is unacceptable. Why have so many of these issues been allowed to get to such a state of disrepair or need? A dumpster fire can be confined within its walls, but this one, I'm sorry, this appears to be a forest fire with no control. And finally, the timing of this work sucks. With elections just shy of 2 weeks away, the focus for many of you have been on that, understandably. Why is the rush? Is there something the bloodhound has missed? Thank you.
The public wishing to speak.
There's another door down the hall and it takes you right out.
I would see this person, there's somebody on Zoom.
Yeah, someone on Zoom.
Okay, I don't see anyone else in the public here at this point. So I'm going to close the public hearing. Before I do, Kelly, so do we have, I see we have Representative Sally who's on Zoom. Is there anyone on the?
no others right now.
On the public?
No others right now.
Okay, very good. So closing public hearing. So, now I open the delegation meeting, item 10, and call on any of our colleagues. I would point out for the benefit of the public that all of these issues have been raised in the subcommittee meetings that were held on the initial proposal. Okay, and all the subcommittees have raised all the questions they had, raised all the issues, and explored all the issues that we had, including a very voluminous discussion with former Major Burke with regard to the taser issue, which is highly complex, but also the constant flux, I would say, with new products coming on the market and so forth. So it's not really the kind of thing that you can nail down so easily because there's, as I said, always something new being offered and coming out. But in any case, these issues have all been examined and the subcommittee process produced positive votes and approvals of the commission's proposal that was the basis of the previous meeting that we had, which the delegation turned down in terms of approving it by the necessary two-thirds vote. So following that, then the commissioners went back to work in terms of whittling it down to the point that we're at now. So I open the meeting, as I say, and recognize anyone from the delegation that wishes to be a guest. Okay, so I think first Representative Harrington and then Representative Granger.
Well, the question on the process, I have to admit, I did die on the criminal justice subcommittee, but I missed this during during that presentation. It just seems to me as if you look at a product that has a 5-year life, that's what written, I should go back and look at the book for these tasers, and yet we're bonding them over 10 years. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me. Why would you bond something for twice its expected usage time? That just people don't do that. I mean, you don't take a loan out on the car that you expect to last for 8 years for 16 years. So why are we doing this? It just seems to me that should probably be removed from the capital budget and put into the operating budget.
I think, let's see, Ray, by a moment. Raise at the door. Oh, that's out at the door. Sorry, we were there a moment ago. Come on in, Ray, and speak to this because this issue of a 10-year bond for a 5-year lifespan has been raised before, but it needs to be explained once again why we would be doing this.
No, well, my answer is not directly related to Representative Harrington's question, but bond counsel has reviewed the fact that it's a 5-year item over a 10-year bond, and their answer, which is included in your package, indicates that that's allowable as long as enough principal is paid in the life expectancy. So, in other words, if you're paying on a 10-year bond enough to pay for the 5 years of the taser, then it's allowable to be bonded. It's an appropriate item to be bonded. Now, that doesn't answer Representative Harrington's question. You know, I think the easy answer is we're in a jam. We need to replace the tasers so that if they're, and I hope we don't have to, but if we ever do need to utilize them, that we have something that's supported by a company, and we can certainly lessen our liability. I think in the future, the things that Representative Harrington says and Mr. Kraus or Town Manager Kraus says makes sense. And I think probably in the future, we would do it in a different way in year 6. Starting to put aside, we don't do that, so starting to budget for it in year 6 on when this lease expires.
Thank you, Representative Granger.
Mr. Chair. So I have to be a no on this bond, and the reason is very simple. The town of Milton's tax cap has not been respected, and this would raise their taxes even more beyond what their current tax cap is. The people of Milton who put me in office have said that they do not want their taxes to go up more than 2% for the inflation rate, whichever is lower. With that being the case, I would be betraying their trust by helping to pass any bonding that's going to be paid with taxes, because that's what they clearly stated that they do not want. Middleton also has a tax cap that was not respected. you need to respect tax caps if you want us to vote for your bond. If you're not going to, then we're not gonna vote for it. Thank you.
Other members of the delegation. Representative Holman, followed by Representative. And you, Kevin.
So first off, I'll start off by thanking the staff that went through their presentations of all of
I'm
the.
not hearing you.
Oh, okay, sorry, get closer. So I'll just, again, start off by thanking the staff that took us through the long list of items. I think they adequately expressed what their concerns are, which are our concerns. I think the initial long list, which is a long list, is all things that eventually that we're gonna have to deal with. I think, when I look at this, it's a natural process whenever you do the CIP that you refine it. And so, of course, this first flush that's now brought it down to 5.1 million, thanks to the work of people who helped us get 1.4, is a good start. But I think, as we look at this, and of course, these are all needs, this is just the first step that the delegation has ahead of us, which is going to be a real challenge. Particularly since someone just mentioned the tax cap of 2%, which inflation is higher than 2%, so you're unable to make any progress in your CIP following that. And that brings to the pertinent point to that is that we have, when you look at the sheets and all that we've had offered to us, after we bond this, which is the most critical thing, we still have $7.5 million of items on the capital improvement, as well as 646,000 that we need to put into the budget, which are things like Hoyer lifts, which are directly impact residents at the nursing home. And when we look at that further $7.5 million list in there, I think it's about 1.5 million is life safety for Riverside Rest Home. And if we don't come up with a plan for Riverside Rest Home, we're going to be forced to put 1.5 million into a building that we eventually will rip out, which is completely insane. And so I think doing this is the first step, but we have a lot of work ahead of us. We have, as I said, $7.5 million of capital improvement. A lot of it, which is redundant, which is the Riverside Rest Home. We have done nothing on the Riverside Rest Home since the bond request failed. There has been no work done on refining the project. There was discussion about Carroll County, which is about 79,000 square feet for this facility. There was our plan, which is 215,000 square feet. We just haven't done anything. A normal process in a building is you begin to take that and work at it and begin to cut at the square footage and look at what really is a passable bond. And so we failed the community because we haven't done anything on it. So we're sitting here looking at the next year where we have cleared off some of our capital improvement. We have a long list of capital improvement. We have a lot of work to do on the budget. And specifically, what is a realistic budget goal to work us through as we begin to look at what a building looks like and how we slide the bond in it. So, when I look at what we've accomplished over the last 2 years, it's really not a lot. We spent a lot of time fighting and not a lot of time getting anything really done. And so I'm not sure who exactly is going to be around this table after the November election, but I think we have a lot of work to do. And I think good points were raised about the tasers, obviously, but I think as we work through this, we're gonna have to work together. And that means we're really gonna have to put a lot of effort into the building design, how that fits into the budget, how all these other, for example, the 646,000, how does that fit into the budget? And so that's really unclear right now, and I think that really rests on us as a delegation for not really doing our due diligence. And so I think I support passing the $5.179 million bond because it gets us started, but only with the fact that we have a lot more work ahead of us. We cannot go into another year where we sit back, come to one meeting, eat dinner, and then vote on millions of dollars. That's just not an acceptable way to do it. There's no municipality that does it that way. So I think it really is incumbent upon us as a delegation to get our act together. Thank you.
Representative Kuzinski.
I don't feel like I feel. I think myself and others who voted to protect their constituents from an unnecessarily expensive nursing home did the correct job. And I was wondering about saying anything, but since this was all brought up, as Mr. Price said, this is a dumpster fire. I'm saying, why do we get a call in August to start having committee meetings for emergency items? Everything is an emergency. The 6-year plan, just about every item is an emergency. Now, if working on a nursing home is gonna hold back somebody taking care of the responsibilities built, I think that's failure. Not on our part, okay? I mean, we had a capital budget this past year, these things weren't brought up. All of a sudden, it's popped on us like this. So, I don't know, I really totally resent this procedure here. I'm not gonna say certain things aren't needed, but for crying out loud, it all came up in the last 3 months. Really? Somebody, and again, if pushing that fancy nursing home took people's minds off of what they're supposed to be doing, maybe, stick within what you can handle.
Representative Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I agree. I don't think we've been wasting our time at all. As a matter of fact, we have been doing due diligence for our taxpayers and representing our constituents. They're speaking up. They've had enough with the increased taxes and no cuts in budget. What this really comes down to, if this is a business, as our commissioners have referenced Strafford County, business practices begin with cutting back. We have overhead in staffing. Certain departments have way too many people working. I think the last time we looked, it was about 80% of the budget for staffing. So if we're really doing due diligence here, we really got to look at the overall picture so we can actually afford the buildings and care for the individuals that are in them. I agree we need to reduce this proposal from 5.179750, less than $98,000 of the tasers. That shouldn't be in here. We clearly should have understood that from what was shared by Mr. Kraus. I propose that we should just bring it down to another down to $5,081,750,000. So I don't, $1 million, where are we now? I can't remember. We can go up and down with what we need, but we're not listening to our taxpayers. And it really starts with cutting back from the business and start serving our taxpayers the way they deserve. Thank you.
Anyone else in the delegation wishing to speak? Representative Horgan.
Yes, we brought up in passing the issue of our nursing home versus Carroll County Nursing Home, which is indeed a very good facility that provides good care, and the building was built at a lower cost. But I think they have some issues up there with their nursing home, so they don't necessarily think it's ideal. I've also heard that they've been there's some perception among some people up there that in their case they're trying to discourage so-called indigent patients in favor of patients who can private pay, which means maybe they're worried that some people there may not be able to use the nursing home, which luckily ours, everybody who needs nursing home care is able to be cared for by a very caring way, although it's a facility that's grossly substandard, so I think, of course, that's not what we're thinking of here, but I think it's, in our interest to, build the best nursing home we can afford, not to get away with. That's true, I think, with all the county facilities, we should have, the best county government we can afford, which may not be everybody's wish list, not just the cheapest one we can get away with, so that's, I think this pared down issue is, I think this pared down version of it is not extravagant, and I certainly would be voting for it. Thanks.
President Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I sit here listening to what's going on, there's some misinformation about Carroll County saying the size of Carroll County was so much smaller for the money, but we got a estimate with the size that we would need, not the size that was built, the size that would be required. And those numbers are substantially different, like 1/3 less. Now, just to remind everybody, what happened was this delegation voted to approve the money for the new, the appropriation for the new nursing home on a piece of property. And then voted by the Democrats, overwhelmingly supported it. We found out just a short while later that that was not doable. And if we had gone forward, we would have cost us $600,000 in fees and fines in 2-year delay, which we now know would have eliminated the goal for money because there's certain deadlines like there is now.
President Newton, the thing is, we're not debating the nursing home situation at all.
It's all relevant.
That has
been brought up.
It has.
I didn't bring it up. It was brought up before I spoke.
It has been brought up, but
Right.
that's not what we're talking about tonight. We should not be getting off the subject. The subject is the CIP.
You let them talk nonstop about the nursing home, and we're not even going to discuss the nursing home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Favoritism.
So let me finish making my point and then we can continue. So that was just one issue, but the point I want to make is when we work together, we end up with a better product. In the nursing home, the original nursing home, months went by, the delegation was not notified of what was going on, there were no meetings of the building committee, it was kept from us, and that caused a little amount of concern by most of us. And now you get to what we're talking about tonight. There was a bill, a motion to pass $16 million, the brakes were put on. Now, what's happened as a result of the brakes being put on? We're getting more, we got a trimmed down budget. We're getting more information. Instead of a spreadsheet, we've got more cooperation, which has been better for everybody. And an example tonight is brought up, the question was asked, and it's a good question. Why are we bonding 10 years for things that only last 5 years? And the answer was, well, the bonding company said, as long as most of it's paid for in 5 years, it'll be okay. Well, does the bonding company know that, which was also brought up tonight, we don't know how long the tasers are gonna be warranted or backed up. They could go out next year, they could go out 2 years, and those are tasers we're buying, nobody seems to know. What would the bonding agent say if you said, well, we're gonna bond something for 10 years, it's only good for 5, that we might have half to pay for 5 years, but there's only a warranty on it for 1 year? Would they be a little concerned? They just might be. None of us here knew about that. We all know about it now. We know about it because people have had the chance to speak and they've had a chance to give input, which is all of us as humans, we're supposed to allow that and encourage it. We're supposed to ask questions and get answers. And the more that we do that, the better it is for everybody. Now, this nursing home project has not been a happy one. And it's because mostly we were kept in the dark on so many issues, it led to mistrust, and rightly so. Now, this item here, I don't see any contingency in this budget being presented, yet there was 10% last time. Is there contingency in this? There isn't any. And what was one of the biggest sticking points of the representatives protecting the taxpayer? We don't want to see a contingency. It is good that we're getting to this consensus, but it should be a lot easier. I agree with my representative from the other side of the hall. We should be communicating. It should be easier than it is. There's a lot of good minds here. There's a great difference of opinion and views sitting at this table. Everybody should be heard, and we should respect them, and at the very least, consider them. And what we've got tonight is a lot better project than what we had 5 weeks ago. And you can see by this what we can get done when we work together. So I hope you all consider that going forward through the next election cycle, whoever is here. Don't say because we've got a majority, we're gonna ram it down your throat. Take the time, slow the process down like what was done here, and come up with the best you can get, and then you can tell your constituents, listen, we gotta spend money, it's gotta go up a little, but it's going up a lot less than it was gonna go up because of our due diligence and hard work. And that's what I wanted to say.
So thank you. I don't disagree with you that the interaction of the two parties and their representatives in this whole process has been an improved result without a doubt. Certainly has lowered the overall CIP costs. We're sacrificing a lot of the long-term things at this time, but the bottom line for me is that we have a very substantial investment. We, the people of Strafford County, not the 28 or 30 of us that are here tonight. No, it's the people of Strafford County who have been putting their money into supporting the nursing home, providing the services, realizing that these services in many cases are mandated by the federal government or by the state government. The commissioners are not free agents to do any damn thing they want or not to do anything they don't want. They are required to provide certain services by the law, and they're doing that in my judgment. You can disagree with whether they're doing the best possible job. Only God knows what the best possible job is. I'm not applying for that position. But the bottom line is, we have some things that absolutely, in my judgment, must be addressed. We have a sewage situation with the nursing home. We can't have 160 plus people, elderly people, frail people in many cases, living in a nursing home where they can't be guaranteed that they can flush the toilet safely. Okay? That must be fixed. Subcommittee heard that. We also were presented with facts regarding the electrical grid of the county, which needs some immediate addressing, because we don't want to get in a situation where in the middle of winter, an ice storm or something like that brings our system to a halt, and it might not be restored for how long? You be the determiner of that. I don't want to get in that guessing game. But the bottom line is, again, the people who live here are senior citizens who have paid their taxes over the years, who have earned the right to have a safe and healthy environment to the degree that we can put it together. And this nursing home, for all of its so-called deficits and neglect that was alluded to, I don't subscribe to the idea that this was neglect. Some things don't get seen until they fall down or break. Okay, some other things can be seen to be wearing out and used up. But the bottom line is that sewage situation must be addressed. We know we have a chimney out there that has a massive crack in it. They could bring it down. If it fell down rather than being taken down, what damage or what harm could result from that? I don't want to take that risk. And therefore, I'm going to be supporting this CIP because I think that it addresses issues that absolutely have to be addressed. Okay? So I've said my piece, and somebody else perhaps wants to say something. Kelly, Representative Tension.
So just quickly, I've been talking, of course, to, Mr. Bauer and others. There are the wastewater, the piping thing that's going on underneath the nursing home. I'm actually trying to get, DES, first ARPA funds for that. If those aren't available, I'm looking for a state revolving loan fund that might be forgivable. And then, there's, another state aid grant program that could actually, give us back 20% of everything that we spend. But if, if any of those things come through, that would be fantastic. My question is, and I've talked to, the commissioners as well as, Mr. Bauer. Under the resolved here, under the amended motion, I see where you guys listed this. I think it's important, but maybe it's missing just a couple words, because I think that this puts a lot of people at ease, where it says, Commissioner, to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, or other aid, if any, which may be available for the project and to comply with all laws, da, 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 da. So I think that we're missing how it's going to reduce the bond anticipation note. I think that that's very important, because if we get any other funds from now until the end of the year, or even actually from now until it's bonded, it will reduce this. And I think that's very important for us to have that in writing. And it's there, but it's missing a couple words, I believe.
Sure. First of all, again, just one more time, I want to echo and recognize the work that you've done to assist the county, certainly the 1.4 million, as well as making the right contacts for other possibilities. We can add in there, and the bond will be reduced by whatever money is brought in from the other sources.
Point of order.
I
think if that's what we're gonna do, to state it really clearly and make sure everyone knows exactly where that's going.
You can't amend the motion that has been put to the floor yet.
Yes, yeah.
So the motion to amend is only applicable when you have a motion. First, you need a motion.
Yes,
Someone has to make the motion, someone has to second the motion, then the chair presents the motion to the body. Then
you
can
answer
make
my question.
the motion to amend, or everybody can write on their piece of paper now, whatever the amendment that you want, and then you're just introducing the amendment as the original motion. So you can do it informally, the second way that I just said, or you can do it formally.
Yeah, I just want everyone to write it in the same place.
Thank you. Well, I want to make sure everyone understands that this language is not something that we ginned up this afternoon. This language is devised and designed by bond counsel. So let's have the motion that was referenced. I think it's completely procedurally appropriate, and therefore I recognize Representative Grassi for a motion.
Chairman, I move to approve the issuance of a $5,179,750 in bonds to fund the proposed 2024-2026 capital improvements plan.
Is there a second? Second by Representative Wall. Now, we have an opportunity for an amended motion. Do I see your hand, Representative Turcott?
Motion to amend. I'd like to make a motion to amend the $5,179,750 figure to $5,080,910.
And what are you depleting to get to that figure?
I think we need a second before I start speaking in my motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Representative Peake.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the gentleman from Rochester for pointing out the fact that the 5-year, here's my sheet.
On the item for the lasers, which is 5 years, I would totally agree that when we're bonding for 10 years, any items under 10 years really should not be in a 10-year bond. Regardless of whether the bonding authority believes it's okay, it does not make it fiscally responsible. So, for that reason, the amount in the budget, in my amendment, is reducing the amount by the $98,840, which is the item which has the 5-year useful life taser replacement.
Okay, so now we have to speak to this amendment. Representative Bixby.
Yes, I'd like to get some information from either the sheriff or, Commissioner Bauer, and the director. Bauer.
It's clear that
Whether we will, if we remove that from this bond, will we be able to pay for that contract before that contract runs out? Or pay for the renewal of the contract before that contract runs out?
Okay. Right.
No, but our intention would be it would be a short gap, and because we would put it in next year's budget.
Okay, so how big a gap is that?
About 4 months.
Okay,
And that's presumed the budget's approved sometime in March.
so
5 months, sorry.
would we have tasers available and they would just not be covered by the warranty, or would they?
We would have tasers available until they don't work, and then we would take them out of service, reprioritize who has the tasers, and we would hope to make it to 5 months.
Okay, so we're basically, if we don't fund this now, then we're just hoping to work for another 5 months.
That's correct.
Do we have any indication that they will not work?
I mean, there's times when they've broken down, but because they've been under warranty or under the previous contract, we've gotten them fixed. I don't have that crystal ball, but I believe we can certainly pare that down. If that needs to happen to make the delegation comfortable.
Representative.
Yes, when we were in the executive, committee meeting, the sheriff spoke on this, actually, and I think it was
Major Burke.
Yeah, it was Major Burke, and based upon what I recall, and my other executive board members can talk about this, I think we would be okay with that time frame. So, do you agree? 4 months?
Yeah, it's just adding to what Mr. Bauer just said. They're like mini computers, so it's totally unpredictable. But if one or two goes out of service, we can try and work around that. Not every one of the deputies has their own taser issued to them. As a matter of fact, the court security officers sign one out every morning, and we don't have enough because it's so expensive. But it's our only intermediate weapon, so it's pretty much mandatory to protect the county. But yeah, if one's down, then we may have a workaround. But like Mr. Bauer said, it's pretty much impossible to predict what's gonna happen to a mini computer.
I am confident, though, that we could work between the sheriff's department and the jail to make it work. If for some reason the sheriff loses a couple, I'm sure, speaking for Superintendent Brackett, but I'm confident that we can make it work between the two agencies. We have, a real good spirit of cooperation. I have every reason to think we could make it work.
I participated in all the subcommittee meetings, and my recollection is there was some reference to the fact that whether some of these issues, some of these items are supported, not whether they work or not, but whether they're supported, so you wind up with something that doesn't work. It's either out of whatever warranty or so forth. So what, can you address that aspect?
That point of order.
Yes, Representative Turcott.
First of all, the chair, under Robert's Rules of Order, the chair is not supposed to be involved in the discussion when we're talking amongst the members of the body. Second of all, in order for questions and this kind of thing to go on, this is supposed to be the discussion here. Robert's Rules require that the body as a whole allow that to go on. The discussion is supposed to be between us, not anybody else.
Take your point. Can't see whose hand is Representative Howard.
Actually, to speak to Representative Turcotte's motion, a friendly amendment addition would be, what your side brought up, that we only, because the motion is for 5 million, and I can't remember what the math was on it after the tasers had come out. But what was raised on your side was that there's the potential that we may get other funding, and so we don't want to spend theoretically, it was what you brought forward, is the entire 5 million if we have funds that come in to offset it.
I believe that's a different amendment.
Yeah, we've only got one.
I know, I realize that, but his amendment is amending the amount, and I was just trying to simplify it to squeeze that into his amendment.
If the chair is going to recognize me, I will briefly say, thank you for your offer, but no, I.
You have to hold your hand up where I can see it.
Stay it.
You stick it up behind Representative Kaczynski, I can't see through him. Representative Turcotte.
Yeah, thank you. To his question, no, I prefer to keep the amendment as is. He's certainly open to, amend it further.
Representative Pear.
Yes, could you please tell, the body?
Are you
Yeah,
using the
I'm
mic?
preaching for it. Could you please specify for us what exactly you have removed to lower this money to the amended amount? I thought it was something else, and all of a sudden the taser is coming into it. Maybe perhaps I was wrong.
Just the taste.
Okay, that's good.
Representative Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but I think we skipped item 11 in the agenda. We're going straight to the motion. We still have to approve minutes from last meeting.
Well, we're in this discussion, I can move stuff around at my own discretion. Representative Harrington.
Just as a clarifying point, because we haven't talked about funding, looking at the, criminal justice capital improvement budget.
You have to speak to Representative Turcotte's amendment.
That's what I'm speaking to. His amendment was to remove about $98,000 because of the tasers.
Right.
What I'm saying is, on the presentation we were given on the criminal justice subcommittee, it says, under financing source, check other, to be researched for funding options, capital grants may be available. So a delay in funding this because we take it out of this capital budget, roll it into next year's budget, operating budget. Maybe during that time, whatever this research for funding options, grants may be available, may come to fruition. So that's probably another reason so that we can say it's not going to hurt us to wait.
So are we ready to vote on this amendment? Representative Southwood first.
Yes, excuse me, but
Here's the mic.
the,
We have to record this. The microphone is important for the public, the record.
I think the total number got lost in the discussion. Can you say what the real number is now?
The new number would be going from 5,179,750, my subtraction was correct, minus 98,840, I come up with a figure of 508,0910. Again, that was just done quickly. I think it's correct.
Thank you.
Representative Bigby.
I think that in light of the fact that, the, sheriff and, Mr. Bauer are confident that, they can make it work. If we don't have the contract, renewed immediately, I think that, it makes sense to, to delay that for the regular budgeting, session, and I will be voting in favor of the amendment.
Okay. Anyone else? Are you ready for the question? Okay, clerk may call the roll on Representative Turcotte's amendment.
Hankerberg,
Yes.
Bailey,
Aye.
Bay,
Yes.
Bickford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Cannon, Conlon,
Yes.
Connor, Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Granger.
Aye.
Grassy,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Oregon,
Yes. Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kazinsky,
Yes.
Lamontaine,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Newton,
Yes.
Pear,
Yes.
Finney,
Aye.
Petrie,
Yes.
Tenza,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
Turcott,
Yes.
Wall, and Schmidt,
Yes.
and Sully is no longer online with that. Smith,
Yes.
It is 29 yes, and hearing no. So, Representative Turcotte's amendment is adopted. What's next on the list? You- Representative Bixby.
I'd like to, move a further amendment, which would, I'd like to move a further amendment, which would, require that if any, if any of the, grant or, state or other aid that is referred to, under, the resolved paragraph, under the, paragraph that starts resolve, the convention hereby authorizes issuance. That, if any of those, the, state, federal, or other aid that, is applied for is received, then that would be used to reduce the bond amount.
Yeah, we have.
Well, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Tenza. Is it you, Kelly?
I have some words, yes, yeah, I wanted. Okay, I don't think you're right.
Okay, so, so that goes in right after. project. Okay, so I'm going to read the paragraph that this occurs in, so we have context. Resolved that the convention hereby authorizes the issuance of the bonds in the amount of, 5,080,910. For the purpose of financing the project with such interest rates, maturities, and other terms and conditions as may be determined by the commissioners at a duly noticed public meeting, authorizes the commissioners to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, or other aid, if any, which may be available for the project, and and to comply with all laws applicable to the project, and therefore reduce the items approved to be bonded. Authorizes the commission to issue, negotiate, and sell and deliver the bonds, and authorizes the commissioners to take any other action or pass any other vote relative thereto.
Okay, is that you were the second on the original language, but this is the formal language. You're okay with that?
Yes.
So that leads the second.
Yeah.
Want me to read it again? No, well, that's just the language for the record. Okay, Representative.
Could you read just the language that was added, please? Not the whole paragraph, just what was added for clarity.
You mind, Representative Turcott, if I read it only because my handwriting is not the best.
That's fine.
So after.
No, into the mic.
At the mic, we're at a mic.
After the word project, it would say, and therefore reduce the items approved to be bonded. So to reduce the cost of the items to be bonded.
Are you ready for the question on this proposed amendment?
Can you do a voice vote? Yeah, right.
Here, I heard you. I'm looking to see, I think, this is not, I think we can have a voice vote, it's not a dispositive motion, just makes the amendment, right? So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous, thank you. Now, back to the main motion, as amended. Are you ready for the question on the main amendment, the main motion?
Yeah.
Seeing no objection, the clerk may go.
On the whole amendment, on the whole motion for the amendment.
Yes.
We'll vote.
As amended. As amended. As the main motion.
Okay, and on the caucus, will be all set.
I'm all set.
The amount of $5,080,000.
5,080,000, okay, so we're good.
Okay, so the clerk may call the roll on the main motion as amended.
Bailey,
Hey.
Fay,
Yes.
Bigford,
Yes.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham,
Right.
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Bonner. Sorry. Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Granger,
Nay.
Grassley,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Yes.
Zinsky. Payne.
Yes.
Vote, clerk votes yes. Newton,
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Finney,
Aye.
Petrie,
Yes.
Tenza,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
Turcott,
Yes.
Wall. Yes. And Smith.
Aye. Twenty-seven aye, 2 nay, motion is adopted. Item 11. Item 11. Item 11, approve minutes of September 2024 public hearing meeting. Moved by Representative Hazel, seconded by Representative Taylor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, are there any amendments, immunizations, changes, subtractions, whatever? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, that's that. Motion to approve the issuance of, I think we actually already did that. Item 12. Motion to approve increase anticipated revenue by $715,000 from FY 2024 COPS technology grant. We have to have somebody speak to that. Is that going to be you?
I'll speak to that. We applied for this, it's in complement to the radio system upgrade. This will enable the towns to upgrade their radio system. I'm talking about in the patrol vehicles, portable radios. I don't have the exact breakdown. We just received notice of the grant last week. We are in the process of reaching out to the cities and towns to determine their needs. And then we'll distribute the $715,000.
Further discussion or question, Representative Harrington.
First, I want to thank, I believe it was the sheriff's office that pursued this grant. This is an issue that I've been bringing up for a couple of years now because it's not so much important in the cities or even some of the towns, but some of the towns I represent have no radio coverage when an officer goes away from the patrol car. So if it's Saturday night, it's domestic disturbance, they go away from the patrol car up to a knock on the door. They have no way of communicating at that point. And what I told is they waited, if there's no response from the officer for some amount of time, I don't know, it's fairly short, 5, 6, 7 minutes. But then they dispatch somebody else. But in most of the towns like New Durham or Strafford or Middleton, there's only one police officer on duty on Saturday night. So they're dispatching someone maybe from half an hour, 40 minutes away. That's just way too long to leave that person out there by themselves. This is something we really need, and it would be truly appreciated, I know, by the police chiefs of the towns I represent.
Further discussion? Do we need a roll call on it from two-way?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous, thank you. Item 14 is motion for a supplemental appropriation of $715,000 for the purpose of purchasing radio equipment funded by the FY 2024 COPS technology grant. Is that what we just did?
No, it's the first to accept the money, the second.
Okay, so,
Now we have to
okay, I just want to make sure I'm not keeping up. Okay, so, is there discussion on this? Seeing that, we need a roll call on this. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey. Any other business which may legally come before the delegation? Representative Finney is called. Representative Turcott.
Just to clarify, when we spend over a certain amount of money, don't we have to have a roll call vote on that?
I think the anticipation was that it was a unanimous vote. That would be equivalent to a roll call vote.
You want to have a roll call? Okay. It's unanimous. Okay, any other business which may legally come before the delegation? Is there anything? Seeing none, motion to adjourn by Representative Petrie. Wait a minute. Representative Potenza, do you want to be recognized, or are you having a kid?
Just real quick, I'm not sure how this works or not. I just want to put this on record because I think it's very important.
I would like us to, raise the rent for the courthouse to the state. We have, significant costs that we, have been incurring over the years. And I think that we're giving them a bargain, and I think we need to raise the rent. So, I don't know how that's done, if that's done on a commissioner level or whatever, but, let's get that done.
Raymond Howard.
There's 5 counties that rent space to, their respective courts. We are collectively meeting with the administrator of the office for the state that manages the rents. And we're also working with the municipal association because there's a large number of, district courts that are rented from the cities and towns. So coincidentally, it's in process.
Okay. Yay.
And I'd be happy to report to Representative Potenza on the results of those meetings.
I think we would all like that.
I'll be happy to report to everybody.
Representative
Mr. Bauer, are you actively looking for more money?
I'd be fibbing to you, Representative Kaczynski, if I was the one that told you that I initiated the conversation. It was initiated by Cheshire County. However, when we met as a group, or we do it by Zoom every other week, and we had a discussion and we all have the same sentiment. The concern is that has to be considered is you don't want to price yourself out of the court business. There comes a, because what would you do with this space? What would the county do with, and lose the $600,000 in rent that we have coming in? So we're walking the fine line between raising the rent to a more acceptable level and not encouraging the state to build its own courthouse somewhere.
Representative Kaczynski.
Can you give me some figures? Can you give me figures as to what, not, I don't believe the county should be in business, but what the net profit is after, because you're saying 600,000 and we previously talked about this is gross. It's not the net income. So seeing we're putting millions of dollars into a roof, Corchester Cafe needed a whole vent system after, when the hood was changed for the business that's not making any money. I mean, what's the net that we come out with this thing? Because maybe it's not worth it. I know when I make an investment, I look at what I'm gonna get for return.
I'd be happy to do a multi-year assessment. I mean, if you look at 1 year, you're right. But if you look at the years in which the courts paid us rent, when we've put nothing into this building, I think that needs to be taken into consideration. Like any business, certainly I don't profess to have any business experience like you do, Representative Kaczynski. But in my little wood cutting business that I do, I look at the investment that I'm making in how long I expect it to last and what I've done with it. And I kind of use my tax return and listen to my accountant. So I'm happy to provide you an assessment over a period of time. But you're right, this year it would be a loser. But you know, I'll go 5 years forward and 5 years back, and I'll know that better after we have that meeting with the gentleman from the state.
Representative Kent.
Yes, sir.
So just, because you're looking at the courthouse, does that mean you're also looking at the jail as well for an increase in rent?
We already have.
Okay.
We've our finance director is here. She's already begun the paperwork for an increase. It's a little complicated. The increase would come through the U.S. Marshal's office. We do have the support of Marshal Hart. We just had lunch with him last week. We do have the support of Marshal Hart, and then immigration follows. They tag on to that contract. So the answer is we have our latest audited numbers, so we can use that to increase the rent. I'm sorry, increase the cost per inmate board.
Perfect.
There's a motion to adjourn. Is that seconded?
Second.
Second by Representative Ranger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stay around if you don't.